Welcome to section 4.7, writing decimals as fractions. Within this section, you're going to notice that we're going to be using some information that we learned in chapter 3 as far as place value. Okay, when we write decimals as fractions, the first thing you're going to do is identify the place value of the last decimal, just like when we read it. Okay, so even if you remember from Plaso, this was 25 hundredths because the 5 is in the hundredths place. You're going to write the denominator as a fraction using the place value as the denominator. And as you remember, the denominator is that bottom number. Okay, so 25 hundredths is said in the same way as a fraction as it is as a decimal. 25 over 100, 25 hundredths. Then you simplify, in which is what we did in section 2. Okay, so what can go into 25 and 100? In one step, I can divide both of them by 25. If you saw that you could divide by 5, that's fine. And then you would have to do it again. But since they both end in 5 and 0, our divisibility rule for 5 is anything that ends in a 5 or 0, a 5 can go into. So you can start there if you get stuck. But 25 divided by 5 is 1. 100 divided by 25 is 4. And if you think about these as being quarters, 4 quarters goes into a dollar. Okay, so 25 hundredths can be simplified to 1/4. All right, so we're going to try that here. Write each decimal as a fraction in simplest form. So once again, the first thing you're going to do is identify the place value, and that is the tenths spot. So this is 4 tenths. Okay, now these are both even numbers, so I know I can simplify. I'm going to divide by 2 because they are even. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Your answer is 2/5. So 4 tenths can be simplified to 2/5. Now I have 0.64. The 4 is in the hundredths spot. So this is 64 hundredths. So I write 64 over 100. Okay. Once again, this is an even set of numbers, so I know I can divide by 2 at least. So 64 divided by 2 is 32. 100 divided by 2 is 50. Okay. Once again, they are both even, so I'm going to divide by 2 again. 32 divided by 2 is 16. 50 divided by 2 is 25. And I cannot go any further, and that's my answer. So 64 hundredths in simplest form is 16/25. Okay, now I have 375.375. That 5 is in the thousandths spot. Okay, 375 thousandths. So 1,000 becomes the denominator, and the numerator is whatever is above. And now once again, I'm going to simplify. And I'm going to start by simplifying by 25, $3.75, and $10. How many quarters I can go into there? Okay, so 25 goes into 37 just once. If I need to take it out to the side, I can. Once. And 25 goes into 125 5 times. So it goes into it 15 times. 25 goes into 10. 0 goes into 100 4 times. And into 0 0 times. So you'll notice that I still end in 5 or 0, so I'm going to divide by 5 again. 15 divided by 5 is 3. 40 divided by 5 is 8. And this here is my simplest form. So 375 thousandths simplifies to 3/8. 2 and 75, and the 5 is in the hundredths spot. Now, what makes this one different? Well, we know when we say it as a decimal, now we have to say 2 and 75 hundredths. So the 2 is going to be my whole number. And it was our whole number when we did decimals as well, but this time it's going to be written as a mixed number. So it's going to be 2 and 75 over 100 because it's hundredths. Okay, so when I simplify, and I'm going to simplify by 25, I have to make sure I include my 2. So I'm going to put my 2 out there first. 75 goes into 25, or I'm sorry, 25 goes into 75 3 times. 25 goes into 100 4 times. And now this is in simplest form, so my answer is 2 and 3/4. So when I have a number with a whole number in front of the decimal, it's going to be very important that you make sure you include that in your answer. And it's going to be looking like and written as a mixed number. Okay, so I have another one here. 5 and 12 hundredths. So the 5 is my whole number, so 5 and 12 hundredths. Okay. All right, what can go into 12 and 100? Well, I know that this is even and this is even, so if I want to start with 2, I definitely can. There is a bigger number, but a lot of people just want to get those evens out of the way. So 12 divided by 2 is 6. 100 divided by 2 is 50. And I'm not yet done because I still have even numbers. I'm going to divide by 2 again. Keep that 5. Write that 5 every single time so you don't forget it. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And 50 divided by 2 is 25. So 3 and 12 hundredths can be written as 5 and 3/25. Okay? So once again, we are using the place value to determine my denominator. Then the numerator is determined by everything behind that decimal. So my 12 behind the decimal becomes my numerator. If I have a whole number out front, I put it there. If I don't, then I leave it alone. Okay, so once again, 35 thousandths is written as 375 thousandths is written as 375 over 1,000. Okay, and then don't forget to simplify your answers. If you get stuck, start making those tree diagrams to find a factor that they have in common so you can begin dividing. Okay, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, make sure you ask Mr. Kohlinger and I tomorrow. Thanks.